Hey everybody, it's RJ, your host, and welcome to Hashitout. The image of cannabis in the broader media has certainly shifted over the years as states in the US began legalizing cannabis and advocates and activists actively worked to change the blanket stereotype of what a pothead looks like. In this episode, I'll be talking to Brooke Burgstahler about creating a welcoming space for those who are curious about cannabis through edutainment, what still needs to be done to further destigmatize cannabis content online, and more. Without further ado, let's hash it out. My guest today is a cannabis advocate, content creator, and the founder of Budding Mind. Welcome to the show, Brooke Burgstahler. Welcome. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much.
And mahalo for the time. I appreciate you being here.
Aloha,
now, I
y'all.
understand you're joining us live today from Dallas, right?
That's right, my friends. I am here in Tejas. It is the Wild West.
Yes, indeed.
And I was actually celebrating 420 here in Texas. And as I was walking around with a joint on the street, my boyfriend reminded me it's not legal here. And I was like, oh my God.
I was about to say, like, pretty bold of you to be doing a celebratory 420 out in Tejas.
That's right. I was not trying to be a rebel of any kind. I was immediately nervous.
Well, I mean, people, cannabis enthusiasts we sort of have that rebel juice, like just somewhere in us. You know what I mean? It's sort of an innate ability. But I feel the same way as you, where, I mean, even here, I'm in California, I'm in SoCal. And I even still face that. I'm in Orange County specifically, which is, a little more conservative in comparison to other parts of the state.
Down there.
A little bit. Yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with the area, but there's still a few sideways glances. I head down to the beach and people are kind of like, are you from here? Like, are you here to mow the lawn? Like, no, but it's all good. But
no, I'm actually from Los Angeles. I'm just visiting.
You are from
here.
Los Angeles. Yes. And you are you born and raised in SoCal?
Oh no, I'm not a unicorn. I was born in Buffalo, New York, baby. Humble roots. Stay cold.
Yes, I love it. I am originally from Michigan, so we are both on that eastern half of the United States. We both know all about that winter, and we both left. I don't miss it at all. I don't know about you.
Common denominator.
I was video chatting a friend of mine, and like they were in the snow, like shoveling snow, and I was like, here I am in the palm trees, like by the beach, like writing the copy for today. Like, I don't know, you can come visit, just get vaccinated.
You don't have to be in the snow, right? That's what I want to tell my family. You don't have to be there.
We've all put in our years, Like, I spent 20 years in Michigan. I never got used to the winter, not 1 year. And I don't miss it. I miss Michigan. It's a beautiful state, but I don't miss the winters. That's for damn sure. But yeah, thank you again for being here to speak with me about, I'm stoked, as I mentioned before we started recording, to pick your mind about cannabis content creation and sort of destigmatizing the image of cannabis in the broader media, which, has made a lot of progress over the past few years, at least here in this country. But there still is a long way to go, and there still is a lot of work that needs to be done. As I mentioned during your intro, you are the founder of the cannabis and wellness startup Budding Mind, which just recently launched a podcast, I think at the beginning of this month, if I have that correct. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Yes, everyone, go have a listen to my ramblings. There's not enough podcasts to choose from. But unlike a lot of other cannabis podcasts, we don't get high first so that we can have coherent conversations. It is such a novel idea.
We love that. We love a little coherency every now and again, don't we?
Just a dash, honestly.
Just
not
a dab.
Too much.
Yeah, just a little dab of clarity. Yeah, of course. We love that. A little vision in the clouds. That's all we need every now and again. A little sunbeam. Yeah, so tell me more about Budding Mind and your mission here to expand the mind and heart through exploration of plant medicine, alternative healing, science and spirituality? And then how do you see a podcast, specifically a podcast format, differing from other forms of cannabis content that you might be partaking in?
Right on. Well, I am authentically at the intersection of cannabis and wellness. I am not, wearing my flat brim hats and ripping dabs in bikinis. That's
Sure.
not exactly my lane. Love that that's someone else's lane. But Budding Mind was created because, growing up as a cannabis consumer, pre-legalization anywhere, I was actually like living in Arizona when I first started smoking weed. I knew of High Times, vaguely knew of Cheech and Chong. There just
Sure.
wasn't a lot of cannabis media there, and there certainly, as the years went on, were not a lot of people like me being portrayed as cannabis consumers. And so Budding Mind was born out of that, out of a desire to create a community that felt safe and welcoming for people wanting to explore the softer side of cannabis. And maybe that means, using cannabis every day for recreation, or maybe that means just trying a CBD balm and, for your grandma, and it's actually not for her.
Mm.
I want to, and my desire is just to be like a really sweet, comforting nest of goodness and information about the myriad of wonders that come from this cannabis plant, and to ideally instill a little bit of a perspective shift for people who might be wary of using this plant. I truly do believe yesterday had me reflecting on the fact that no matter if you use cannabis or not, your stance on legalization is a political statement. I mean, of course it is,
Mm.
but there's so much more to this plant than getting high, and that is something that I want to share with other people.
Yeah,
And so so then I made a podcast.
yeah, and so you made a podcast, and how many episodes in are you now?
Oh my goodness, we've only released 2, and
Okay.
it's not just about cannabis. So that's something, I love this plant, and she is the keeper of my heart and soul, but I'm interested in a myriad of other plant medicines as well, along with,
Mm-hmm.
the rest of common society, so it seems. And all of these things that intersect with cannabis wellness, whether it be different spiritual practices, or the second episode is an interview with Rebecca Rosen, who's actually a psychic medium. So
Yes.
yeah, like I want to talk to ufologists and quantum physicists and everyone in between. So my general purpose, I feel, on Earth is just to soften people's perspectives, open minds, open hearts, that kind of thing, so that we can all just be a little bit nicer to each other. You don't have to do what I do, but you can accept and allow what I do. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
I love that. I love the notion of just, striving to just be a little nicer. It seems like such a simple concept, right? To just inject a little nicety into your life, but it is certainly much easier said than done, particularly in a rather divided political climate,
Truly.
where, like you said, like even the issue of cannabis can be a not only political topic but a polarizing topic, right?
Absolutely.
Um, I was wondering if you spoke about Budding Mind sort of being a welcoming place for those who may be weary about cannabis but might be curious about it. So speaking of that, can you break down the analogy that you made on the green repeal between the average person who doesn't consume cannabis and getting into yoga, and how what you call edutainment can help sort of destigmatize cannabis and make someone who may be curious about cannabis a little less scared off by sciencey words like endocannabinoid and arachidonyl glycerol,
Oh, look at you, though. You're impressing me, honestly.
Oh, when I tell you I had to do vocal warm-ups to prepare for that word just now. The people don't see this, Brooke. The
Phonetically
people don't
written
see
out
the
on your
work that we
computer.
put in. Yeah, the people don't see the work that we put in behind the camera Man, when I was, it was red leather, yellow leather, just trying to get that word.
That's perfect. I've got my own repertoire of vocal warm-ups. Don't you worry.
There you go. Yes, indeed.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
I really actually love that analogy so much because I also come from a yoga background. I was a yoga
Love that.
instructor for so long, for years and years, and yoga parlays into cannabis, the whole thing all makes sense. But
Sure.
a lot of people, including my own parents, a lot of older people, a lot of less able-bodied people, feel very intimidated by entering into a yoga class, so much so that they never do it because
Mm.
you're worried when you get there that you're not going to be good at it. And so because of that, you never even want to engage in the experience. It's safer from the outside. And I feel like a lot of people, particularly older generations, feel similarly about cannabis, that there's just so much to know. It's so daunting that you can't find your avenue for entry, and therefore I will just cast the whole thing aside and say it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where cannabis media and engaging, enlightening, well produced cannabis content comes into the picture. I love using the word edutainment. I think that that's the perfect terminology to describe like the best cannabis content out there. Educational entertainment. um like you said, there's a lot of really intense terminology that is associated with the cannabis plant that would make you, if you don't know a word, why would you want to watch a video about it?
Right.
So so yeah, I aim to make content that kind of distills the endocannabinoid system, trichomes, the agricultural processes, all of these things, distills this bounty of information into the smallest possible filter for the everyday person. A lot of
Mm.
cannabis content out there right now is generally targeted towards people who are already in the industry. And I think that's where we make a little bit of a mistake because for, my mom in Florida, uh, she doesn't know everything about cannabis stocks. She doesn't know True Leaf. She doesn't know all of these
Right.
these huge cannabis companies and their going ons. So how can I make content that feels good for her and she can feel like she's benefiting from it?
Mm-hmm. How have you seen over the years? In 2012, the legalization movements started here in the United States, and over that course, and speaking of that was recreational cannabis specifically. Over the course of the years, the image has certainly shifted, maybe updated in many ways in the broader media. And of course, that has to do with the legalization movements, but it also largely has to do with advocates and activists actively working to sort of change that blanket stereotype of what a pothead looks like, right? Um, and at the same time, for people who make cannabis related content like you or I, um, we still face a lot of challenges when it comes to getting our content out there,
Hmm.
uh, particularly in terms of us on social media channels. Cannabis content is still very much scrutinized. There are a lot of loopholes that you go through. Like, I don't know if you've seen people on TikTok who make
Oh my gosh.
cannabis related videos, and they've been using the term like weed, like the French word for
W3
yes.
3.
Yeah.
Oh yes. And
Yeah. All of these ridiculous sort of like workarounds for trying to get this content out there. So I'm just curious to hear what your experience has been with that, if at all, and how you get around that, and what you think still needs to be done to further destigmatize cannabis and make this sort of edutainment accessible for more people.
right. Well, this is, one of the arguments about social media platforms, them having so much control over the communications that we have with one another. I obviously do not agree that Facebook and Instagram and TikTok should be filtering our cannabis messaging whatsoever, particularly when you're trying to genuinely educate people. But I've certainly had those experiences on all of the platforms. TikTok always takes down my videos to the point where it just becomes so disheartening. I don't want to create content on that platform anymore. And so you're losing
Mhm.
out on a lot of, really great creators wanting to engage and put things out there because you're just met with obstacle after obstacle. So I tend to really stick to the lanes of Instagram. YouTube is a little more open to cannabis content, but something I don't think people are aware of, like, I really try to stay away from any cannabis hashtags, 420 or high
Sure.
or cannabinoid or THC or, you know, anything even funny either, because I've found that Instagram will certainly flag that content. And while I haven't had any of my personal profiles removed, I've had plenty of friends who have had who have grown their accounts to 10, 20, 30, 100,000 and have had Instagram take their pages down with no explanation, no communication, and you know how big these social media companies are now. There's no way to just like email someone and say like, "Hey, what's going on here?" Like that's kind of the
Right.
end of the road for all of that hard work. And furthermore, beyond not being able, that's we were talking about, like the copy is so important. Not being able to
Sure.
tag a cannabis brand in your copy because that might get flagged too. So you're missing out on being able to get new viewers who are interested in cannabis, searching through, all the different ways, because you can't broadcast in that way. And that sucks. And you can't even, like, I would love to roll some Instagram ads for Budding Mind. I want to give Instagram my money. May I give you my money for advertisements?
Please.
And
Yes.
Instagram says no. And interestingly, I've actually seen a lot of these broader stroke CBD companies that are being sold in the Walgreens and the CVSs and the Walmarts. I've seen a few of those companies being able to advertise on Instagram. And I just think that's, proof in the pudding that money, and whatever power, whatever bigger corporations those CBD companies are connected to are somehow managing to find the loopholes in advertising. And
Mm.
that just puts smaller businesses, at a further disadvantage, which is, you know, there's a lot of corruption in that in and of itself, even just like through social media. Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I had a friend, Rebecca Kirschberg, who owns the Flower Pot, who had grown her Instagram page to like 12, 15,000, which doesn't sound like a lot, but like it also is a lot, right? Like that was a grassroots initiative for her. Her profile was completely shut down. She cannot engage with anyone at Instagram or Facebook. And her store was completely legal. It was a CBD shop. There was
Mm.
nothing plant touching beyond CBD. She was able to sell all of her products online and ship them legally. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, there is stigma even on cannabinoids. We have stigma around chemical compounds. How redonkulous is that?
I love that, so few of my guests work the word redonkulous into the show. And I appreciate you so much for
Well,
doing
it's
that.
nice to meet you.
Totally. You raise a great point, and it brings the question to my mind. Um, so what do you think needs to be done, and what do you think feasibly can be done? Because, like you said, when it comes to big corporations in terms of advertising, they tend to get a lot more leeway, of course, than a smaller company or a local company. And then even in terms of content creation, like a smaller content creator, ironically, when it comes to cannabis content, can face a lot more scrutiny than, say, someone who perhaps has been, like, say, on YouTube for years and has millions of subscribers and is just now starting to implement, their own cannabis content, and seems to be able to do it without facing any sort of backlash from the platforms that they're posting on. So, what do you think feasibly can be done to sort of even the playing field at all,
I
if
don't
there
have a
is a way?
Yeah, I don't have a perfect answer to that. I think it's all going to be a trickle down from federal legalization, and it
Hmm.
all has to do with money. Once cannabis is federally legalized and banks feel federally protected to represent cannabis companies, then that will make advertisers of TV shows and tech companies, et cetera, feel more comfortable engaging with these businesses. But it all boils down to the money. And yeah, it all boils
Yeah.
down to the money.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. Yeah, that money yells so loud, doesn't it? What's next for Budding Mind? Like I said, you launched your podcast at the beginning of the month. You're 2 episodes down. You've already gotten to speak to some great minds and have some great conversations. So what is next for Budding Mind as a startup, for the podcast, and for you personally? What are you looking forward to for the rest of the year?
Well, Budding Mind is, you know, it's a lot of things. It's also like a creative outlet for me, which is very
Mm-hmm.
exciting. So I am beyond stoked to see where these conversations go and how to, particularly with podcast guests, people who aren't necessarily in the cannabis space, how does cannabis relate to them? For instance, talking to this psychic.
Yeah.
When psychics and mediums are operating in different energy fields of existence, are they, when they're high, are they already high? Like, would weed enhance or inhibit that ability at all? Whoa, mind explosion.
That's deep.
So
Yeah, that's super
yeah,
deep.
yeah. But I love all things far out, and I also am not an expert in many things. So I'm really excited to kind of be the forever student in the continuation of a lot of these conversations, and hopefully be a positive filter for a lot of this kind of weird stuff,
Yeah.
to again make it more accessible for people. And as a cannabis startup, I'm interested in doing a lot of different things with Budding Mind. I would love to have products. I would love to have a store. I would love to, you know, write books. Who really knows? I'm open to whatever this journey is, but particularly holding space in the cannabis media department. Um, I want to be there for when Netflix is like, let's go. We want a weed
Yes.
news show. Let's go. Will
Green
that
light
happen
it.
in the next
Green
5 years?
light it.
Who knows? We can co-host it. It's going to be great. It's going to be
I love
amazing.
it. I love it. We're going to use this recording as a pitch to Netflix.
There we
To be like,
go.
your hosts are here.
Do you
We
know
color
anyone?
coordinated. Y'all, the viewers out there don't know this. We color coordinated today unintentionally.
In my
Okay?
beautiful all white
In the beautiful all white, the nice stark
Dallas
background here, like
Airbnb.
we both woke up with that B&W energy in our minds, and we've come here in this moment, and it's a beautiful thing. So Netflix, again, Brooke said, if you guys, when you guys are ready, we will be ready. All right? Okay? Get on the ground floor of this budding enterprise.
There we go. Budding Mind Enterprises. Thank you.
Budding
We are
Mind
now
Enterprises.
accepting investments. We'll have my Venmo appear on the bottom of the screen here. Don't worry. All going to a good cause.
Brooke, it might be a good time for you and I to maybe update our LinkedIn's then.
Never. I'll
Never.
never update my LinkedIn. No way. But I don't know about you, RJ. It's funny because I really just don't use my LinkedIn. My resume truly does lie in like my social media platforms or my video footage, you know, and I don't know if that's the same for you. But when I first moved to LA, my point of entry into cannabis media was as an actress. I'm an actress. I'm a comedian and also a journalist. That was my more like, you know, vanilla plan B, but spiced it up with some weed. But when I first got involved in the cannabis space, I was so afraid that it would ruin other opportunities for me in the entertainment realm or prohibit me from getting other jobs, which is largely why I didn't want to update my LinkedIn to say that I was working for any of these cannabis media publications. I wanted to distance myself from the stigma as much as possible. And, you know, now I've fully come out of the cannabis closet, and I don't think anyone has any questions about my feelings on the plant now, but it was something I was very protective of at first.
Wow, yeah, that's so deep. I've certainly had a similar journey in terms of like going, I guess, more or less public with you know, cannabis advocacy and cannabis content, and you know, feeling I don't know how to say it, feeling safe like putting my name on like cannabis content, you know what I mean? Because I had the same thought where I was like, I don't know if this will affect, like, what if I'm like going to an audition and they look me up and they just see like videos of me just like toking all over the place, and they're like, oh, this guy, like, you know what I mean? So it's I've gone through a similar journey, and I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to sort of share our perspectives, and I would love to hopefully in the future have another conversation with you, you know, just about being an actor, being a performer who also happens to enjoy making cannabis content, and how, you know, how we strike that balance, because that is such a delicate balance to strike, which, you know, for me personally, it's become easier certainly over the years to become more public with it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, nowadays I'm just, you know, again, like you, no
cat's
one
out the bag.
Yeah. You can't put, like, Pandora's box is open, like you can't put it back in. And so yeah, I would love to, hopefully again we can rehash it out, or we can meet up on Budding Mind, the podcast, and yeah, I would love a round 2. That would be awesome.
That would be so beautiful. Well, thank you so much, RJ. Look at your Jungle Book in the backdrop.
You know, Rudyard Kipling is always watching over me. You know what I mean? Brooke, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and your perspective. Please keep up all of the good work at Budding Mind. I will certainly be keeping an eye on everything that you're doing. And you certainly have a listener for your podcast. I'm in on the ground floor. That's for damn sure. Please keep up the good work. I hope we get to talk again soon. And please continue to be well and stay safe in Tejas. And once you come back to California, we will welcome you with open arms.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, RJ. I'm going to go follow you on Instagram right now.
Love it. Love it. Looking you up on LinkedIn as we speak.
Perfect. Accept my connection request. Bye, RJ.
Yes, I got you. First ring of connection, or whatever it is they talk about. First level or whatever. Yes, we got you. My thanks again to Brooke Burgstahler for joining me, and thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you are a member of the cannabis community and have a story you want to share with us, we would love to hear from you. You can reach the show at hashitout@trichomes.com. You can also join the discussion with industry insiders and get your voice heard by joining the community at trichomes.com and following us on all social media. Hash It Out is produced by David Fortin and presented by trichomes.com. I am your host, RJ Balde, as always, and I'll catch you next time.